Hey y'all, it's me, Kevvie! I just finished participating in the Golden Girls Murder Mystery Readathon, hosted by Rachael Fryman. This one was so much fun. The challenge was based on Clue. You know, it was Colonel Mustard in the library with the candlestick. There are 5 characters, 5 settings, and 5 murder weapons. The challenge was to figure out who done it. Each of the possibilities is assigned a prompt, and by completing the prompt, you get to count that card toward your final guess. So if you just complete one prompt from each category, you only have that one final guess. But if you completed several prompts in each, then you could win with any combination of those. You don't need to choose your final whodunit guess. As long as you've completed the winning prompts, you win. So as I tend to do with these readathons, I wanted to cover the board. Also, I know several of you have commented on my previous readathon videos, the Golden Girls and Bob's Burgers ones, saying how much you'd love to have participated in them if you knew about them. Well, you know what you gotta do? Subscribe to Rachael Fryman. Get on it already. She hosts awesome readathons, as you've seen from those vids and you're about to see from this one. Next month, she's hosting a true crime-a-thon. So yeah, to stay on top of all the readathons she hosts, I'll link her YouTube channel and her readathon website in the description below. With that out of the way, let's get right into what I read for the Golden Girls Murder Mystery Readathon. The first book I read for the readathon was Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life, the first book in the Scott Pilgrim series. Everybody loves the Scott Pilgrim movie, and I'd heard good things about the graphic novel series, so since it was free to rent through Prime, I thought I'd check it out. I really liked it. I like comic Scott much better than that perpetually annoying teenager dude who plays him in the movie. It's still awkward that he's dating a high schooler, but otherwise, yeah, it was a lot of fun to read and really quick to get through, so I'd be interested in reading the rest of the series. Scott Pilgrim is a graphic novel, which puts me on the board with Rose's Prompt. My aunt recently loaned me her favorite science fiction novel, The Universe Between, by Alan E. Nourse. It's about a group of scientists who accidentally create a hole into another universe in the 4th dimension. Everyone who attempts to see what's on the other side either dies from shock or loses their minds. So one woman involved in the project decides that she's going to have a child, and that child from birth will be exposed to the other side, making him the only person in the world whose brain can process being over there. This was a great recommendation. I really enjoyed it. It's super fast-paced, and a lot happens in such a short book. It's split into 3 parts, and so far I've only shared things that happen in part 1, which doesn't even scratch the surface of the direction the story's gonna take. I loved the way this book unfolded. It's awesome, and the final twist was just delightful. Thanks, Aunt Jan, for letting me borrow it. I read The Universe Between as a paperback, so it completed Blanche's prompt, and it has green on the cover, giving me Blanche's bedroom as my first setting. Next up, I read And by Fire by Evie Hawtrey. This was a NetGalley book, not coming out till next year. It's really cool. It's a dual timeline about a detective trying to solve the case of a serial arsonist turned killer, which has a connection to the events of the other timeline set during the Great Fire of London in 1666. I'll save my full thoughts on this book for my next NetGalley video, so all I'm gonna say for now is I loved it, and I am excited for more people to read it. So because I don't really have access to a library right now, I decided to substitute Stan's prompt, reading a library book, for reading a NetGalley book. This book also has fire on the cover, giving me Shady Pines. Also, this may be another stretch, but I didn't read anything else that would count towards a retelling, and I mean, it is in a way a retelling of the Great Fire, so I'm gonna count it toward my first murder weapon, the String of Pearls. After that, I read the sequel to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Restaurant at the End of the Universe. This book was so much fun. It's full of the same wonderful British comedy as the first one. My favorite part was when they were at the restaurant, and the main course comes up to the table and is like, "Would you like to eat me?" My shoulder is quite delectable. Ooh. Yes! Overall, I did like the first book more, which could be colored by nostalgia, although this one was quite nostalgic too because I've seen the TV series. But I still really enjoyed this one too, and I'm eager to get on to number 3. Hitchhiker 2 gave me a crime scene and a murder weapon. There's a K on the cover, a New York Times bestseller, checking off the kitchen, and it was a light read, which completes the prompt for Silk Robe. Last month, I read and loved 50/50 by Steve Cavanagh. This month, I decided to read another book from his Eddie Flynn series, 13. The tagline for this one is, "The serial killer isn't on trial, he's on the jury." Cavanagh is so good at those attention-grabbing taglines. There's many of the same characters in this book. Of course, our protagonist, con man turned lawyer Eddie Flynn, his friend Judge Harry, and his investigator Harper. I really like these characters and thoroughly enjoyed this story. I was able to predict many of the twists, but I did not clock which juror was the bad guy. The book also alternated perspectives, going between Eddie Flynn and the killer. Being inside the killer's mind let us know him intimately, but it still kept his identity on the jury a mystery, which was really cool. Of the 2 Eddie Flynn books I've read, I did prefer 50/50, but I absolutely loved them both. 13 was a tense read, so it counted toward the cake knife prompt. Also, while most of the books I've already listed were ebooks, I'm counting it here with 13 just so that it has more presence on the board. So now I've officially completed Dorothys Prompt. Since last month, I have been listening to The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins on audiobook. This thing is massive. It's over 25 hours. I just listened to it during my morning routine, so just about a half hour or so a day. But then I was so eager to finish it during the readathon, I wound up spending several hours a day on it this past week. Wow, this is such an amazing book. It took me over a month to complete it, and I did not mind one bit. The Woman in White is about a man named Walter Hawtrey, who's on his way to a new position as drawing instructor for Laura Fairley when he encounters a mysterious woman in white who asks for his help. He helps her and then discovers that she's actually escaped from an asylum. Soon he's balls deep in this mystery, connecting this curious woman with his pupil Laura and her fiancé Sir Percival Glyde. I liked its narrative structure, with different chapters being written from the perspective of different characters. My favorite perspective was Laura's sister, Lady Halcombe. She was witty and clever and would do anything to protect her sister. I loved hearing about the lengths that Miriam would go to uncover this mystery. She wasn't content to just sit at home while the men did all the sleuthing. Many significant clues were only uncovered thanks to her. Woman in White was an excellent book that has stood the test of time. It's certainly a chonker, but well worth that investment. I listened to Woman in White as an audiobook, so it completed Sophia's prompt, rounding out all the suspects. I have been so hyped for so long to read Atlanta Nights. If you haven't heard of it, let me provide a little bit of backstory. Atlanta Nights is arguably the worst book ever written. However, unlike other novels with that claim, this one was intentionally written to be terrible. Dozens of science fiction and fantasy writers were suspicious of this publishing company secretly being a vanity press, one that will print anything. To test their theory, they collaboratively wrote this book, with each author contributing just a single chapter, with no effort to maintain continuity amongst them. There's countless spelling and grammatical errors, lazy dialogue, so much painful cringe. It is hilarious. So these writers wrote this, then submit their manuscript to the publishing company, hoping they'd have the sense to reject it. But of course, their manuscript was accepted. After getting accepted, the authors publicly revealed their hoax and chose to instead print their work through an on-demand publisher, with the profits being donated. Y'all, this book is so bad, but it is hilarious. Let me just share some of my favorite examples. Swiftly, she sveltly walks up to the bar and smoothly orders a Bloody Mary. The bartender sagaciously nods. He competently takes a crystal glass. He swiftly gets the cold ice and puts it in the empty glass. Consequently, he gets the imported foreign vodka and puts it in the glass with the red, opaque tomato juice. He sticks a fair wedge of easy lemon on the edge of it and promptly gives her it. She comfortably sits back in her opulent, luxurious chair and leisurely sighed. Then, in the same chapter, there's this exchange. Irene, he pontificates, I will reveal your dark secret to your father unless you allow me to have my way with you. No, exclaimed she, horror-struck. Yes, grated he harshly. You will not, expostulated she. I will reveal your dark secret, exclaimed he. I will not allow you to have your way with me, she avowed. You will, he averted. No, you will not reveal my dark secret, threatened she numbly. My father will never believe you. I will, and he will, exerted her. You won't, and he won't, claimed he. I will, and he will, remonstrated he. You won't, explained she, in an explanatory tone of voice. My father will be very, very, very furious with you. He will certainly blame you. I will, and he won't, demonstrated he, contemptuously. You won't, and he will, proclaimed her definitely. I will, and he won't, declared he defiantly. You won't, denounced her angrily. I already told him last Tuesday. What the fuck? Also, let me share you the very end of chapter 11. That's it. We're all merged. She toasted him with the champagne glasses. That wasn't all that got merged that night. They had wild sex. Y'all, this book, it's impossible to follow. The continuity is non-existent, but nonetheless, this book is a fun ride, and I definitely recommend it. This book works for 3 prompts. The deck of cards, because it has more than one author. The lanai, because it has a tree on the cover. And since it's arguably the worst book ever written, I counted it as my final murder weapon, Stands to Pay, a book no one likes. At this point, I've completed all the prompts except one, flowers on the cover, and only a day left to complete it. So I went to the Kindle short stories section on Prime and grabbed the first thing I could find with flowers on the cover, and wound up with Rocket's Dead Glare by Lynn Cahoon. I didn't really like it. It was fine. A short, cozy mystery about the head of the local volunteer fire department going on a power trip and getting murdered. The narrator runs a coffee shop / bookstore. I really did not like her. I found her behavior to be immature and irritating. Too much talk about alpha guys, and I just could not stop rolling my eyes. I get that this was a short story, but the solution came on quite suddenly, and not at all satisfying. But to be fair, I didn't choose this as a good read, I chose this as a quick read, which it was. So in the nick of time, I finished the final prompt for the living room, rounding out all the crime scenes and filling the entire board. And with that, I finally completed the Golden Girls Murder Mystery Readathon. Now let's see who the killer is. It was Blanche in the kitchen with the deck of cards. Oh my gosh, what a surprise! I guessed it! Now that I solved this mystery, I will be getting a golden ticket, or Golden Girls ticket, which will allow me to replace any 2 prompts in the next Golden Girls Readathon with a free choice. The next standard Golden Girls Readathon is in June, I think. But this year Rachel's been doing a variety of other ones, so I don't know if that's the next round or if something will be coming before then. Either way, I am so excited. Did you play in this readathon? Or did any of these books spark your interest? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if it pleases and sparkles, I'll see you in the next video. Mwah!